Most men never realize how much emotional impact a single sentence can have on a woman long after a conversation ends. It is not always about using a smooth line, sounding romantic, or trying too hard to impress her. Sometimes one emotionally genuine sentence stays in her mind because it touches something deeper inside her emotionally that most men completely overlook. And once that emotional connection happens, she starts replaying the interaction privately in her mind long after you are gone. The problem is that most men communicate in ways that feel predictable, surface level, and emotionally forgettable. They focus too heavily on physical compliments while completely ignoring emotional connection and emotional depth. That is why some men receive temporary attention, while other men quietly stay in a woman's mind for days without appearing to force attraction at all. Welcome back. And on this channel, we talk about female psychology, attraction, emotional connection, relationships, and the emotional triggers most men never fully understand. A lot of men believe attraction is mostly created through looks, money, confidence, status, or finding the perfect line to say during conversation. But psychology shows something much deeper happening underneath attraction emotionally. Women often remember emotional feelings far longer than the exact words a man said to them. That emotional memory is what separates forgettable interactions from conversations that stay in her mind afterward. This is where many men fail without realizing it. They compliment women in the same repetitive ways every other man already does. Compliments about beauty, eyes, body, or appearance become emotionally predictable because women hear them constantly from social media, strangers, co-workers, and men seeking attention from them. Over time, those compliments lose emotional impact because there is nothing emotionally personal attached to them anymore. But the moment a compliment feels emotionally specific, genuine, and deeply observant, her emotional attention changes completely. She no longer feels visually noticed only. She feels emotionally recognized. And emotional recognition creates curiosity psychologically. Women are naturally very emotionally aware during communication, much more than many men fully understand. They pay attention to tone, emotional intention, eye contact, timing, confidence, emotional calmness, and the subtle emotional energy behind words. That is why two different men can say something very similar, yet one becomes emotionally forgettable, while the other stays in her mind all night. The real difference is emotional presence. Today, we are breaking down 3 types of compliments that create emotional impact differently because they speak to deeper emotional parts of a woman's identity instead of only surface-level attraction. And honestly, this is where emotionally intelligent men separate themselves from everybody else without needing to perform constantly. The first compliment is powerful because it makes a woman feel emotionally and mentally seen instead of simply physically admired. The compliment is simple. I really like the way your mind works. Calm words, but psychologically extremely powerful when they come from genuine emotional attention and sincere observation during conversation naturally. Most men would never imagine a sentence like that could affect a woman deeply because they assume attraction is built mostly through physical compliments. But emotionally, women process recognition very differently. A woman already knows when she looks attractive. She hears compliments about her appearance constantly from social media, strangers, co-workers, and men trying to impress her every day. After a while, those compliments stop feeling emotionally meaningful because they become expected and emotionally repetitive. But when a man notices the way she thinks, her emotional intelligence, humor, creativity, perspective, or the way she understands the world, something changes psychologically. Now she feels emotionally understood instead of simply visually admired. And honestly, that feeling is rare for many women today. Most people look at women without actually paying deep emotional attention to them. That is why emotional recognition feels so powerful psychologically. It touches identity instead of appearance. And once a woman feels emotionally understood, she naturally starts replaying conversations differently inside her mind afterward. One thing many men never realize is that women often remember men who make them see themselves differently emotionally. The moment you genuinely appreciate the way her mind works, her brain immediately starts replaying the interaction privately afterward. She begins wondering what exactly you noticed about her, what part of her personality stood out, and why your words felt emotionally different from what she usually hears from other men. That emotional curiosity creates emotional replay naturally. This is why emotional specificity matters so much in attraction. Generic compliments disappear quickly because they feel emotionally shallow and expected. But emotionally personal observations stay inside the mind much longer because they feel real and emotionally intentional. Another reason this compliment works so well is because it feels emotionally safe instead of emotionally aggressive. You are not forcing attraction or trying too hard to impress her. You are simply noticing something meaningful about her that most people completely overlook. And emotionally aware women instantly recognize that difference psychologically during conversation. But here is the important part many men completely miss. A compliment like this only works when it comes from genuine emotional attention. Women are extremely sensitive to emotional authenticity during communication. If your words sound rehearsed, manipulative, forced, or emotionally performative, the emotional impact disappears almost immediately. That is why emotional presence matters far more than memorized lines or attraction techniques. When you truly listen to a woman, pay attention carefully, and notice emotional details naturally, your words begin carrying emotional weight without needing to sound dramatic. And honestly, this is what many women secretly crave emotionally. Not endless praise, fake charm, or exaggerated flirting, but to feel emotionally understood by someone who genuinely notices who they are beneath the surface. The second compliment works differently because it speaks to emotional impact instead of physical attraction directly. The compliment is this: "There's something about your energy that stays with me." Simple words on the surface, but psychologically powerful because they make a woman feel emotionally memorable instead of temporarily admired. To many men, that compliment may sound vague or overly simple, but psychologically it can stay inside a woman's mind for a very long time, because it speaks directly to emotional significance. Many women quietly wonder whether their presence truly affects people emotionally beyond surface-level attraction. They are not only asking themselves if they look attractive. Deep down, many women also wonder whether they feel emotionally memorable, emotionally meaningful, and emotionally impactful to someone they genuinely like. That is why this compliment feels so different emotionally. You are not focusing on her body, appearance, or clothing. You are focusing on the emotional feeling she leaves behind after the interaction ends. And emotionally, that creates a very powerful reaction psychologically, because now she feels like she naturally affected you without needing to perform constantly for validation. Once a woman feels emotionally significant to a man, attraction can deepen quickly because emotional significance creates emotional curiosity. And emotional curiosity keeps replaying interactions privately inside her mind afterward naturally. What makes this compliment psychologically powerful is that it creates emotional mystery at the same time. The moment you tell a woman her energy stays with you, her mind immediately starts wondering what exactly affected you so deeply. She begins replaying the interaction privately, thinking about your eye contact, the emotional tone of the conversation, the timing, and the little emotional moments that may have stood out to you. That emotional replay is extremely important because attraction often grows through emotional imagination more than most men realize. Women naturally revisit emotional experiences internally, especially when a conversation feels emotionally meaningful, emotionally calming, or emotionally different from what they normally experience. That is why some men stay inside a woman's mind without constantly texting, chasing, or forcing attention. Their emotional presence created impact naturally. Another reason this compliment works so well is because it feels emotionally effortless. You are not over-explaining yourself or trying too hard to impress her. Calm, emotional certainty feels emotionally grounded, and grounded masculine energy creates emotional safety psychologically. The third compliment is probably the deepest emotionally, because it creates a feeling many women secretly crave inside relationships, but rarely experience consistently. The compliment is this: "I feel calmer when I talk to you." Most men would never think a sentence like that could feel attractive, because modern dating constantly teaches men to appear emotionally distant, emotionally hard, or emotionally unaffected all the time. Many men fear emotional honesty because they assume vulnerability automatically makes them look weak. But psychology says something very different. When emotional honesty is expressed calmly and confidently, it creates emotional trust. And emotional trust is one of the strongest foundations of attraction psychologically. When you tell a woman she brings calmness into your life, you are communicating something much deeper than physical attraction. You are telling her that her presence positively affects your emotional state. And emotionally, that feels meaningful, because very few men communicate emotional appreciation in such a grounded and emotionally mature way naturally today. At the end of the day, attraction is not really about memorizing perfect lines or constantly trying to sound impressive during every interaction. Real attraction grows when a woman feels emotionally understood, emotionally safe, emotionally valued, and emotionally comfortable enough to open herself naturally around you. And honestly, that emotional experience is far more powerful than surface-level flirting or temporary excitement. Most men focus too heavily on performance. They try to impress, entertain, or force attraction instead of simply becoming emotionally present and emotionally aware during conversation. But women usually remember emotional atmosphere much longer than specific words. She may eventually forget the exact sentence you said, but she will always remember how your presence made her feel emotionally. That is why emotional authenticity matters so much psychologically. A grounded man listens carefully, speaks intentionally, and notices emotional details most people overlook. And once a woman feels emotionally safe and emotionally recognized around you, attraction starts developing naturally instead of feeling forced or emotionally exhausting to maintain constantly.